Downpours have brought flash flooding across the UK and trapped people in their homes on the Isle of Man. Some parts of Britain have had a week's rain in just an hour. In sport, Tottenham are trailing Bayern Munich 2-1 in their Champions League group tie. Meanwhile, Manchester City are being held in their home match with Croatian club Dinamo Zagreb. It's currently goalless. That's the latest. I'm Tanya Snuggs.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the QPR Fan Show.
You are listening to the QPR Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined by Gareth Dixon.
Hey.
He's back, he's here, and Gav Lawson. Gav, I've never met you, and it's an absolute pleasure to do this
Likewise.
show with you. Very much looking forward to it. The studio is pumping, the noise is playing, the music is coming through. We're very excited. But we have to start with some very non-exciting stuff. We are going to talk the game from the weekend. It was against West Brom. It was a disappointing defeat. I watched it all. Maybe I was the bad reason why. I was the omen. But I was cheering on QPR from home. Just wasn't to be. But before we get into that, a little bit on the show tonight, we'll be talking to Kevin Gallen, ex-QPR player. Delighted to be talking to him. And in the Championship, well, the games come thick and fast. QPR play Cardiff tomorrow night. We'll be talking to Ben James. And then it's Blackburn on the weekend. We will also preview that one. We'll turn our attentions to it. And Ryan Hildred, who does the Blackburn podcast, he'll be joining us. And every week, I'll give you a little bit of good news. He always predicts, every time he's predicted Blackburn to win on the show, they've gone on and lost. So if he does this weekend, it's a good omen. So let's see what he has to say tonight. I'm sure he'll mention it. We have to start with the game on the weekend. Very disappointing day at the office. Maybe QPR weren't at the races. Gareth's always already pulling a face. What did you make of the result?
Well, I thought that it could have been a 0-0. I thought without that a mistake. I think everyone's crucifying Lumley for the lack of save. But you got to look that lad was run 30, 40, 50 yards from the left back position and pinged a shot from 30 yards. So where's the pressure to stop that? It was petering out. I thought West Brom came for a draw and looked to nullify QPR's attacking threat, which they did very, very well. They had some strong players in that team to do that. And it was a bit of a damp squib, really. The teams cancelled each other out. It was a bit bitty. There was no flow to the game. And then that goal just kind of changed it. And you knew from that goal that we weren't getting back in the game. That was exactly what Bilic and West Brom wanted, was that goal to defend. And they did it very well. And we didn't even, lay a glove on them, as they would say. So, yeah, it was a bad day at the office, but we kind of got outplayed and probably, the tactics were right for West Brom on the day.
But how disappointing was that then, Gav? Because Gareth mentioned it there, that after it was 1-0, almost that sucker punch that QPR, the fight almost looked out of them. They didn't, not that they didn't try, of course they did, but it looked like, where was it going to come from? How were we going to break down this West Brom side? And the fight was a little bit lost. What did you make of it?
Well, I thought it was disappointing because as the first time this season, we haven't created chances. I mean, we've, every game we've created chances and we've not put them away necessarily, but we never looked like we were actually going to score. And I don't think we had a shot on target, actually. And I think the first goal was always going to be crucial. We could have come back into it. We've been ending games strongly when we've been behind, and we've been coming back and getting an equaliser or a winner. But then, yeah, it was very disappointing, the manner of Barbe getting sent off. That just totally killed it. But there were too many players that just didn't perform. Our big players that we needed to. Eze didn't play well. Wells and Hugo, there was nothing really coming off for them. We were losing possession a lot. Both teams were losing possession a lot. But yeah, we just didn't have enough. And it's only been this season against the teams that are actually above us that we've we haven't been able to compete. Swansea was the same, Bristol City was the same. Although we actually competed in those games, we just didn't come away with anything.
Well, this is what I mean, because you say QPR didn't compete in this game. Without sounding too harsh then, because this isn't the QPR we've come to expect this season. Lots of possession, lots of chances. Yes, not converting all those chances, but as Gav said there, still 0 shots on target, not much service for the players. They weren't creating. without being over the top and harsh, was this QPR's maybe potentially their worst performance of the season so far, Gareth?
It's hard to say worst. I mean, it's the one that we didn't turn up to and compete in, I think. But they, as I say, West Brom nullified us. So you look at the tail of the two fullbacks. Furlong and Ferguson for them were up on Manning. Kane did not have a good game. I don't think he's done well since he's coming over. Rangel's not been in and around it, but I think he wasn't really an outlet. He had a lot of possession, but there's a lot of miscontrol, misplaced passes. So you didn't see that from Furlong, who we know very well. And you certainly didn't see that from Ferguson, who looked quality for them. So as a narrow team, that width out wide, you need to use that when you've got it, and we just didn't do that. We were nullified. They pressed high, as I say, and it was just one of those bad. Things didn't go right for us. Things didn't click. We had a chance right before half time when Ilias Chair went round the two defenders. They put on their back sides, and we didn't have that bit of quality. A goal there changes the game massively. You go in, you got something to defend, and then you say, well, West Brom, you got to come out now and do something against us. We didn't have that. West Brom had that, nullified us. We had to change our shape, which we did. Barbe got caught for that. I don't blame him for that. And it was just that it was a kind of comedy of errors at time with the wall and the final goal, and it kind of summed up the day.
I've got to say, I do blame Barbe for that. I blame him for the sending off because it was so predictable and so obvious that the guy was just going to stop. I mean, he was one-on-one, he was through. Any touch was going to bring him down. That was going to mean he's going to be out for... Was he out for 3 games?
No, he's out for one.
Just out for one game. But I mean, at that point, if you get sent off, okay, it was a one-on-one. He was probably going to score, but the guy stopped to let him clash legs with him, and he went down, and it's a straight red.
He was on hiding to nothing there, though, really, for Barbe, because Robson Kanu was looking for the touch ridiculously when he was through on goal.
Yeah.
And Barbe didn't lunge out and kick him. He ran across. Robson Kanu ran across him. Barbe's caught him. He's gone down.
It was a frustrating sending off because it was so predictable.
There was no pressure on the ball high. Ball over behind. We'd gone flat back 4 and got caught out. So I don't blame him. He's been vilified. I thought he was quite good on Barbe.
I thought he actually. I think he's got this in his locker. He seems to pull one clanger every game, and he sometimes gets away with it. It's like Lynch,
Ooh, he's better than Lynch.
But he's better than Lynch. He's comfortable on the ball. He's got a good left foot.
Lynch.
But he does have one. I mean, he's the thing about a few of our guys. I mean, Leistner's the same. He's comfortable on the ball. Sometimes he's too comfortable in possession that he gets a bit complacent and gets caught out. Having said that, Tony again was our man of the match. And well deserved. That's 2 games in a row he's been our man of the match.
I mean, Austin looked pretty shabby, and I'm not just on about his Barnet either.
Yeah, he does. But Charlie would regularly have games where he did nothing but he'd pop up with a goal. I
think that's looking a bit beyond him now, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
funny. He was their weak point.
He was, but I mean, he had. Lumley made a good save from one of his, and he had another one blocked heroically. He could have easily popped up and scored, and he never did that much else.
Yeah.
What I do like about our two strikers is that they're creating.
Busy.
They're busy.
Yeah.
They're not so one-dimensional.
Well, obviously not this weekend. Let's talk about the keeper then for those 2 goals. Not necessarily the second one. We'll start with the first, though, because he has come in for a lot of stick. Gareth, what were your thoughts on it? Should he have saved it? I know you said...
100%.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay, I thought you were going to say different because you said about the run.
No. He should have saved it. I was trying to, give him some kind of evidence to say that it wasn't only his fault. And
because he blamed the bounce after, though, straight away.
Well, you're going to do something, couldn't you? You're going to after that, Rick. You're going to blame something. Yeah. Goalkeepers do that. They look to pass judgment on. I mean, he didn't against Luton when he came out and held his hands up and said, that's my fault. But he looked to blame because I think he knows he's under pressure, and I think he's looking, over his shoulder now at Liam Kelly, who may not have the confidence, although he's been brought in by Warburton, but he's probably not far away now from getting the chance in the first team in a league context. So I think for Lumley, he's under pressure and he's going to look for things to blame.
Gav, what did you make of the mistake? And also, how closely would you say that QPR are to making a change like Gareth suggested?
Well, it's a tough one with keepers, I think, because it can easily totally kill the confidence if you do drop them. But also, he's had a few... I think he's had enough chances. I'd like to see Kelly get a chance as well. It wasn't just that. His distribution is poor. He did make a couple of great saves afterwards. He made one really good save from a header. But his distribution was poor. And then another time the ball got knocked back to him and he went to control it and then jabbed it out wide. That could easily... Yeah, he's being complacent as well. I would probably give Kelly a run. But, it's a tough one. Because, I mean, the thing is that sometimes I think he's got too much confidence, Lumley, in his own ability and his passing. But I still think he's a good keeper. So, I haven't seen enough of Kelly.
Yeah,
but he needs competition. He doesn't.
Kelly played in the cup and he got beaten by a penalty at Pompey and then an open goal after that. And the Bristol City, all three of those Bristol City goals in the cup could have been goal of season contenders. So it's an interesting one, keeper position. It's a big call for Warburton. It's his biggest thing to do today, I think, really.
His biggest test, what keeper will he go with? The keeper that he brought in or the keeper that is number one at the minute? Let's talk about that second goal, the wall jump, because a lot was made on Sky After by Keith Andrews, who was absolutely ballistic, to say the least, because he was saying, you either stay committed, you stay on the floor, or you all jump up together. Was this down to coaching? Was this down to the player fault? What happened? We can't blame the keeper for this one.
Well, there is some blame for Lumley.
Really?
I think, yeah, just because in terms of when you look at where the ball was set, whoever the furthest player out on the left-hand side was, there wasn't even guarding the goal, and it just looked like there was a whole kind of confidence drain from that situation. We looked on the back foot, so the wall wasn't set properly. I mean, Cameron was in the wall and jumped, I think, with Leicester, and they were the gap. Cameron and Leicester, the two that you'd expect to be your rocks. They're the ones that got out of the way. But Cameron was looking a little bit tired, a little bit ropey. He didn't have a good game either. So I don't think they were set right. I don't think they knew what they were doing as a group. So where does that come from? Does that come from the keeper, or does it come from someone in the wall saying we're standing or we're jumping? I just think it was at the time we were a bit all over the place, and it kind of amplified that situation as it was.
Gav, do you agree?
Well, yeah, I think Pereira was their best player. I thought he was the difference.
Terrible goal celebration.
Terrible goal celebration. Not a great haircut, but no, I'm of the opinion, to be honest, that I think we were talking about this in the pub earlier. I genuinely think get someone to lie down behind the wall with his back to the kicker.
Yeah.
And then if everyone does jump, it just bounces off him.
We've seen that a few times, haven't we? It's always a good YouTube highlight. I love it.
That wall stands there, though. That wall stands there. For Pereira, however good he was on the day, and he's on loan from Sporting Lisbon, I think, so he's got pedigree, he has to do a lot to get that ball up and down over that wall. And even then, Lumley could come across. So that wall should just stand. There's no reason for that wall to jump in terms of where the proximity of the ball is and the goal. So there was a lack of organisation there, really.
Was this a little bit like, not a reality check for QPR, because it was 4 wins, we're speaking about the clean sheets and it come to a run against West Brom? Or was it just like a bad day at the office and, even in a tiny small way, if this even is a consolation, that it was everyone had a bad day at the office? Sometimes you just get 1 or 2 players who aren't falling in line, but it just seemed everyone wasn't at the races. Or was this, we came up against one of the better Championship sides and maybe this is where we're at?
I think.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think that we're set up at this moment in time to be better away from home. I think that only the Luton game is the one that we've actually dominated a team. Swansea we've spoken about. Wigan we had to come from behind. I think the team is set up to be better away from home. They don't. There's an expectation of a home crowd and a performance, and this is still a new gelling team, and they run into a good side. So I think there's no reason to kind of throw the baby out of the bathwater with this game and this result.
No, that's true. And Warburton said it. He said we gave them too much respect. I think they might have looked back on last season and gone, "Oh my God, they did us twice last season," and they completely, even if it was a totally different team. But West Brom are one of the favourites, and we got turned over by Swansea in the game before at home, and I think it was all a bit too much for a few of them. I mean, let's not forget that a couple of them are youngsters, and they're it's a new squad. And if you go away, then there's no expectation on you, as Gaz said. So I think we've overachieved probably away, but we never really looked like we were going to do it this time.
Well, it is a young side. They are a new side as well, gelling together. Someone who will know all about that is Kevin Gallen, and we'll be speaking to him next about what he thinks about QPR's start to the season.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice. Listen to Love Sport Radio on your smartphone today. Simply download the free Love Sport app from the App Store or Google Play. Tap the play button and you'll be able to listen to your favourite station. Anytime, anywhere. Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Can you save money on your car insurance? Chris did, with a little help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings.
I'm Chris from Leicestershire, a truck driver. I went on a spokesman's set, which was very straightforward and easy to use for an old git like myself, and saved over £300 on my car insurance.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit wedooh.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
Love Sport.
You are listening to the QPR Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined by the Ranger Things podcast, Gav Lawson and Gareth Dixon. We were just talking about the defeat to West Brom on the weekend. Well, it was a bad day at the office. QPR weren't at the races, but West Brom, a very capable side. They will be up there this year, and they certainly will. They've not lost in the Championship as of yet, but we're moving on to the games because they do come thick and fast in the Championship. But first, we have been joined by QPR legend Kevin Gallen. Kevin, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. What have you made, barring the defeat on the weekend, what have you made to QPR's start to the season?
First of all, good evening, everyone.
Evening.
No problem coming on. I watched the game on Saturday, and after 4 really good results, obviously 4 wins beforehand, I suppose the expectation goes up a little bit, and so I think the fans were a little bit disappointed. But I have to say, West Brom were, I think, of a better class on the day. They looked like a better man-for-man all over the pitch, and I think they thoroughly deserved to win. So it's not the end of the world. I think West Brom should be up in around the top 3 or 4 this season. So it's not a crisis. But other than that, I think we've had a really good start to the season. We played some good stuff. The away win Sheffield Wednesday was impressive. I went to the game against Luton at home, where the first 25 minutes was as good as seeing QPR play for a while. But then I have a little but, and I think about the opposition, and I have to say that Luton, for that first half, were extremely poor in that first half, and really QPR were by far the better team, by far had the better players, and really should have been 4 or 5-0 up at half time. And unfortunately, Joe Lumley made a mistake just before the half time, which gave Luton a little bit of hope. And once they scored one just after half time, then, being in that situation as a player, you can panic. The crowd get anxious, and you're sort of thinking, is it going to be one of those days where we should be winning 4 or 5 and we might just get a draw out of it? In the end of the day, we hung on, and Jordan Huggle missed 2 really good chances that could have made it even more. So the start of the season has been very good. It's going to be a tough game tomorrow, so hopefully we can get back on track tomorrow against Cardiff, who haven't really set the Championship alight coming down from the Premiership. But, our Neil Warnock team will be really fired up for this one, and it will be a tough game.
Kev, you mentioned Joe Lumley there, and we've been discussing him in the studio, and he's someone you know and the family know very well. How do you think he's going to react to those kind of key mistakes? Do you think he's got the character to kind of come back and come back stronger?
Well, I think he'll come back, because I look at Joe Lumley over the few last season. He seems to me a very confident lad, confident in the way he plays. Sometimes he does take the odd risk, which, I've seen, in the first half against West Brom, the ball come back to him. He took a touch, it was a bit heavy. I think, really, he should have just, what he should have done straight away when they see the man coming and closing him down. Sometimes you just got to put your foot through it and don't take that risk and put yourself under pressure. And I think he'll come back. I do think he should have saved the first goal. But then in the end of the second half, he made some really good saves, so it didn't really affect him that much. So I think he'll be all right.
Hi, Kev. It's Gav here.
Hello there.
Hey, man. Just wanted to speak a bit about our strikers. So, I mean, you mentioned Hugo. I like Hugo. He reminds me of a bit of Helgeson. But he does seem to need three chances before he actually gets one on target. He holds the ball up well, he's good in the air. But between him and Wells, we have a combined value of about 16 million pounds up front on loan. I don't know if there's actually potentially a stronger strike duo in the Championship. So what do you think their personal targets should be for this season?
Well, they've started very well, I think. Have they got 6 and 5? Nothing Wells
so,
6
yeah.
and... Yeah, well, that's a great going, and when just got into October, so they'll be thinking, that's a great start for both of them for the season. The one thing about QPR, and I couldn't say that over the last few years, but with those two up front, we've got a real dangerous front two, where the opposition will be thinking, hold on, we've got to be really on our toes to combat these two. So, sometimes it looks like we're going to concede goals, but it also looks like we're going to score goals. There's only one really on Saturday when that didn't really happen, but I have to say those two are, a really good combination in the Championship. With, as you said, Hugo can do a bit of the, aggressive stuff, hold it up, flick balls on, where Nucky Wells is all out running, and he's come back from the second half of last season. He was very poor for me, where he started off the first half very well. He was very poor in the last three months of the season, so for him to come back on and firing and scoring goals, and I think he's been really good since the start of the season.
And Mark Warburton's come in. We've had quite a few managers down there in the last couple of years. What do you make of his start to his time at QPR, and was he the perfect manager for QPR in the situation they were in?
Well, his start has been, I think he's been really, really, really good, because not only is he a new manager and he's come in, and what he's done is come in and he's signed 14, 15 players. So, to get those to be brave enough to ship out a load, and to be brave enough to then bring in 14, 15 players and get them playing as well as they have, at the start of the season, I think he deserves a pat on the back. And what I would say is I'm not worried, but I'm really interested to see how QPR play now. The sort of weather's changing. It'll be in, the winter months coming up, October, November. Those sort of weather, the pitches get a little bit heavier. Not so much heavier, but it just gets a little bit tougher than the summer. And the younger lads, see how they get on with it, because last season we started the initial month really poorly, but then we've really done well for the next sort of October and November, and then come to the winter, January and February we really went downhill. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully Eze and the likes have learned from last season, and they can carry their form on for the rest of the season.
It does seem, Kev, that we seem to have strength and depth as well. And a few of the players that I wouldn't necessarily have expected to have really raised their game. And particularly for me, Manning at left back. I mean, we've got Conor Masterson, who's not had a game and doesn't look likely to have a game as long as Manning stays fit. Because for me, he's been in the top 3 this season of our players. I mean, if we do get injuries, it seems like we do have some strength and depth and some cover there. And it's also pleasing to see that Warburton seems to be able to change the style and change the formation, which we're going to have to do tomorrow, because it looks like Hall is going to be out and also Barbe is going to be out. So what do you think about... Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at... I just realised that. Well, Lee Wallace is there. He's an experienced left-side defender. And as we're playing free at the back, it would not be a surprise if he might come in and play on that left-hand side of the fence of the free, where Barbe plays that left, alongside Cameron and Leisner. What's quite good for Manning, and it suited him because he's not a natural left-back, but because he's playing wing-back, he can, push on and attack more. I think that sort of suits him. And you're right, he's had a very good start to the season. Todd Kane's come in. He didn't have a great game on Saturday, but he's been good at this season as well. But I think everyone's really picked up from last season, and I think everyone's played well. We've got a bit of strength and depth, as you say. Amos hasn't been playing, and the other lad, Matt Smith, hasn't really been playing, so they can come in. So it'd be interesting to see what team he picks. He may be freshen it up, or he might say, well, I don't really need to, and I'll keep loyal to the lads that have done well since the start of the season.
Kevin, in your view, what was the aim and expectation for QPR this season? And also, has that changed at all? Because I know it wasn't a great result on the weekend, but if QPR win tomorrow, they go up to second, 19 points, and they'll be level with Leeds, who the leaders have won 6 games. QPR would have won 6 games if they win tomorrow. So this has been brilliant.
What has been a great start season. I didn't because of the new players coming in, and sometimes it takes a little bit of while for everyone to sort of know what they're doing and gel. So I think it's been a great start of the season. Look, if you win games, the expectation goes up all the time. There's no doubt about it. Tomorrow's going to be a tough game. You just never know. I think other than maybe West Brom, who've got a really good squad, and Fulham have got really good players in squad, and Leeds are quite good. The rest, I think, are all a little bit sort of samey. There's not much between the rest. And if QPR can maintain form, but also maintain key players staying injury-free, then we've got a chance in going into the January transfer window. If we're in there in the mix, sort of in the top 8 or 10, we had money that we wanted to sign that lad from Aberdeen, and I think they made £3 or £4 million offer. So that's still £3 or £4 million is still obviously flying about. So I wouldn't be surprised if they added in January, if they think, we've got half a chance of getting in the playoffs.
Well, maybe if they do, we'll get you back on to talk all about it. Kevin, really appreciate you giving us some time. Kevin Gallen there, ex-QPR legend, talking to us all about QPR's start to the season. Well, next it is Cardiff, and we will be previewing that game and the Blackburn game as well next.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christie's.
They've called it Archie, Harrison, Mountbatten, Windsor. Okay. So it's going to be running around the playground soon with all the other little Oscars and Hughs and Hugo. Hugo, darling, come on, your quinoa's getting cold.
I don't mind quinoa when it's cold.
Right, okay, that's what you took from that, is it?
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, what's the baby called again? No, quinoa's not that bad when it's cold, though, is it?
No, it's not. I have just eaten some quinoa as well, so I'm a frothing hypocrite.
Yeah.
Although healthy while I do it.
Some more big news today concerning Bolton Wanderers. Lawrence Bassini's takeover looks to be off, and we're joined now by Roger Allinson, a board member of the Bolton Supporters Trust. Afternoon, Roger.
Hello.
Hello.
What on earth is quinoa?
Yes! You can tell you're from Bolton. I love it.
Weekdays from 6 a.m. This is Love Sport.
You are listening to the QPR Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I've been joined by the Ranger Things podcast, Gareth Dixon and Gav Lawson. Well, it is QPR Cardiff next up tomorrow night. Like we said, the games in the Championship, they come thick and fast. The return of Neil Warnock, the Neil Warnock revenge game. What do you think of this one, Gav? I'll start with you.
Well, it's going to be lively, that's for sure. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reception Colin gets, Marmite Warnock, gets when he comes back. And it's always feisty against Cardiff. It's normally a really good game as well in recent years. I think, ironically, because it's away, we've got a better chance at the moment because we seem to be playing really well away.
Cardiff are unbeaten at home though in the Championship so far.
Yeah, but so was Sheffield Wednesday when we went there, right?
Love
and
it.
so was Stoke because it's the first game of the season.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
Factually correct.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be difficult to see. I mean, after Swansea, you know, we wanted to see how we reacted, and we went and won 4 on the bounce. So you know, we've won away at some tough places. I think we've got at least a draw in us, and but it really depends how they react, and I think it also depends who we got at the back of our defence. Because if Hall's not back and Barbe's not there, it's gonna I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. They're gonna have to make some changes.
I think Kevin Gallen's point that he made towards the end of his call about the Championship being a bit bang average away from those 3 sides is bang on the money. And I think Cardiff are another one of those teams that have come down, and you expect them to be, you know, all guns blazing, but you look at their recruitment, you look at their results. I watched them against Reading. It was a Sky game on a Sunday, and Reading actually tore them apart. And look at what Reading are doing now. So I think Cardiff are there. They're not there to be feared. They're not this big kind of superpower. I wonder if Warnock's star is waning a little bit in his kind of farewell season. And I think we can go there and think about the results we got on the road and potentially get back on track, you know.
Gareth, when you say that, you know, and also what Kevin said, that the Championship is not at its best quality this year, there's 2 or 3 sides, but everyone else is in and around the same level. Do you see that as this is a perfect opportunity for QPR to do well, we stay in this playoff hunt, we can really progress? Or was it not that, of course, you want promotion, but would you be a little bit scared something could come too soon? Do you know what I mean? You could progress in this year and QPR aren't quite ready yet.
I think the model that QPR are implementing has kind of come at the right time, with FFP coming to pinch quite a few clubs and them having to kind of get their house in order. So this model of, you know, spending 50 grand, getting these rough diamonds in, polishing a few from the youth team, I think it's good for us. It's come at the right time, and these other clubs like the Derbys of the world, they're struggling now, because what are they going to do if they don't go up? And they've got all these players on this malaise of like, I've been relegated and not gone up. And I think Cardiff kind of could fall into that trap, and they don't look like bouncing back really quickly. And there's a few of those kind of clubs in the division.
Well, let's see what they have to say about it, because we have been joined by Ben James from The View from the Ninian, which is a Cardiff podcast. Ben, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. Massive game tomorrow night. Cardiff are unbeaten at home, but they face an informed QPR. If we forget the last result, what do you make of it?
Hi guys. I was just listening to what you were saying there, and I think you kind of underestimated us a little bit. I think there's we started off badly. I think the Reading game, you were right to point out, was dreadful, but I think we're sort of 6 games unbeaten in the league now. We've had some good results against Huddersfield, good result against Fulham and Derby with draws there, and I think we were ready to make the kind of cuts for the Stadium of Fortress. And I think if after the weekend where we came back late against Hull, the team will be ready to get out there and chomp at the bit to kind of get a good result, I think.
Ben, like you mentioned there, you said that Gareth, you felt like he was underrating Cardiff a little bit. Would you say that that's, from the medium fans, have they sort of almost written Cardiff off in this Championship season so far? Do you feel that there's a frustration amongst the Cardiff fans?
I don't think there's a frustration. I think when we went up a couple of seasons ago, no one gave us a chance, even up until kind of like the last few weeks. And I think we're always willing, especially a Warnock side, they're always willing to prove the fans wrong. I think, the Reading game was the one that was on TV, the one that everyone saw on that Sunday, and we were absolutely dreadful then. But I think since then, we've kind of learned from what we did there. We were very naive, I think. We thought that Reading weren't going to be up to much, but they just signed that Puskas, and he kind of tore us apart a little bit. And I think since then we've improved. We signed some players in the summer that came from the lower leagues, like Gavin White, and he's getting better week on week. Marlon Pack's come back into the team that shored up the midfield and freed up Bakuna and Rouse to be a bit more attacking. And I think we're week on week we've seen improvement. And in the last couple of draws, we should have turned into wins. And maybe that's where our problem is, but I think that will come in time as the season progresses.
Hi, Ben. So I just want to ask you something about Warnock. I mean, he took us up several years ago and then never had the chance in the Premier League because he was replaced pretty quickly. And obviously you guys went up on relatively shoestring budget for the Premier League to try and stay up. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Warnock. When you're playing against him, you hate him. When he's on your side, you kind of love him. Do you think, since you came back down, are you glad that they've kept faith with him? And is he popular at the club, or were there did people want him replaced?
I think there's two schools of thought on this one. I think what most people do is look back as to when Warnock came in, and we were in the relegation zone. We were struggling under Paul Trollope, and he came in and turned around a club that had really kind of fallen apart because of the red kit, because of Vincent Tan and everything that had come before it, galvanised us as a team, and then took us up within a season and a half. And I think last season we were a Chelsea result, and then you can't beat around the bush with Emiliano Solar. I think there were two main kind of incidents there that kind of meant that we went down. I think in other circumstances we would have stayed up last year, and I think he had to be given the chance really, because he said it was his last season. He's got a year to go on his contract, and I think there's no better manager to take you into the Championship, frankly.
Agreed.
But the other school of thought is that maybe it was time to move him on. But if he can stay, galvanise the team, and steady the ship this year, I think we'll be challenging for the playoffs come the season end. I think that's a good result this year. And then if he sticks around to hand over to someone who can then take us to the next level next season, then I think that's fine with me.
What, like Warburton?
Well, I mean, what do you guys think of Warburton? I'm interested in that because he kind of came from Rangers to you guys, and he started a good season, right? But did you expect that from him?
After what he did at Brentford, then he was exactly, I think, what we needed, and he's the perfect manager for QPR as long as we give him more than a year, which is what we tend to at the most. So yeah, if we're playing the long game, then I think there's no one better. And what we've seen of him so far, of bringing in 15 new players and trimming 5 million off the wage bill and I think he's very shrewd.
We've played Swansea this year, so we've probably seen the best that Wales has to offer the division. So talking about
don't go, Ben,
talking about rivalries, there is a little bit of an added edge to QPR Cardiff matches. That's felt from QPR? I mean, we actually sing about Cardiff sometimes. Is that a genuine kind of rivalry from a Cardiff perspective?
No, I didn't even know you sang about it. So I mean,
Gaz,
maybe
sing
it's
the
very
song.
one-sided.
We can't sing it on air, unfortunately, but we can email you after.
It might be different if we'd won that playoff.
I think
it's
that's
about
it,
that.
right? Because obviously we beat you in the playoff final, then took your best player in Richard Langley and destroyed him.
Oh yeah.
And kind of I think that's where the rivalry stems from. And I think there was an incident, wasn't there, on the night of the playoff final that we.
Oh, the fire alarm, Sam Haman, yeah.
They set up your fire alarm.
Yeah.
Which all part of the fun and games of being owned by Sam Haman. So look, I think there was a time, and I think it might be that I think genuinely there was up until we kind of went to the red kit, and I think a lot of the older fans then kind of went away from the club. We might have felt that rivalry a bit more, and now I think we've just got a new breed of fans because a lot of people did go away when the red kit happened and haven't come back since we've gone back to blue. So I think the rivalry from our side may have kind of waned with that incident, basically.
And talking about players that you mentioned, Richard Langley there, who went to you after the playoff final. Junior Hoylett's a player that was a little bit much maligned at QPR. He came in on big promise and a big hype. Didn't really ever kick on, which we expected him to do. He has kind of done that at Cardiff, hasn't he? He's a bit of been a bit of a regular down there.
He has, yeah. I mean, the season we went up 2 years ago, he was, I think, our most kind of prolific player up top. I think he got 10 goals and about 10 assists. Last season, he scored 2 or 3 very important goals. The one against Wolves stands out, where he hit it first time into the far corner and took us to victory over Wolves. I think he almost left in the summer we went up to the Premier League, but signed a new deal, and I think he might leave at the end of this deal. So talk of him going back to Canada and seeing out his career there. But yeah, when we signed him, I wasn't really sure what we were getting because I knew that he'd gone from Blackburn to you guys on relatively big money. Hadn't really fulfilled his promise, but I think he's been one of our most consistent players over the last couple of seasons, and I think that's down to Warnock knowing how to get the best out of him.
Well, Ben, rivalry or not, I have to put you on a spot. The game is tomorrow night. Cardiff are unbeaten at home. QPR like how they play away from home. What is your score prediction?
I think we're going to win 2-1. I think we've become a bit more solid over the last few games. We're scoring more goals, and I think 2 of our strikers scored at the weekend, and I think we're due a win. So I think I'm going to go 2-1, and I think it's going to be a good result for us.
2-1, Ben. You know what, Ben? I'm gonna let you stay on to hear Gareth and Gav's predictions to see what they reply. If you want to, you're saying 2-1. Gareth, what do you tell Ben what you think it will be?
I'm going for a draw. I think Gav's in peace 2-2 signs, but I'm going to go 1-1. Cancel each other out.
I'll
1-1.
go for 2-2.
That really didn't play out our fault. I thought it was going to be much more exciting because I kept you on, Ben. But they're going for 2 draws in the studio. Ben, a real pleasure to hear from you. Mate. Ben, the view from the Ninian, a Cardiff podcast there, always good to chat to him. He said he felt like quite strong about tomorrow's game. I know he said 2-1, but he was like, we're coming, mate. I felt like he underrated QPR a little bit. He said that we was underrating Cardiff. Do you think that was fair? Not in a disservice to him, but I felt like he thought
for a team in 13th, I thought they felt very confident. I mean, he mentioned the whole game. They got tighter. They conceded 2 at Hull, got a 92nd minute equaliser, and they seem to be, scraping a draw here or there against teams that you're going to be pushing towards the top of the table. You have to be beaten. But it'll be an interesting game. I think that Warnock is probably struggling to recreate that old magic in his last year, and it's very difficult after. I mean, that's Warnock's how many times have he been relegated from the Prem now? It's a couple of relegations.
How many times have he been promoted?
Exactly, but how many times can he keep doing it as well? And he's not a young geezer anymore. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I'm not scared to go and play them.
What he mentioned about Warnock is it took him a season and a half to come in and take them from the bottom straight to get them promoted. That's exactly what he did with us, wasn't it? I mean, we were languishing around the bottom, and then it took him a season and a half to take them up, which is seriously impressive.
It is. You can't deny Warnock's record over the years, but is this a season too far for him?
Maybe, but also you can't ignore the point you made, Gav. Hopefully Warburton will be given that time. You don't want to, you want to trust in his vision before they change their mind. QPR
because his stock's high, mate. He's not going anywhere. We've had Hasselbank and Holloway, mate. Don't worry about that. He ain't going nowhere.
We've got enough time to reel off all the managers we had in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't. But next up, it is Blackburn on the weekend. It's 2 previews tonight because the games do come thick and fast, and it will be that game will be played before we speak to the guys next. So we'll be talking everything Blackburn next.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio. Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears? We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph, aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
This is Lionel, another very happy person who saved themselves money at aspokesmansaid.com.
Hi, I'm Lionel from Peacehaven. I took note of what the spokesman said and I saved £484 per year on my energy, and I recommend everybody does the same.
aspokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings. Compare, switch and save with aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit wedooh.com. We Do. The smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
You are listening to the QPR Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined by the Ranger Things podcast, Gareth Dixon and Gav Lawson in the studio, talking everything where QPR is concerned. We looked at that disappointing defeat on the weekend to West Brom. We previewed tomorrow night's game against Cardiff, the Warnock revenge game. Cardiff very good at home, QPR very good away from home. We can't wait for that one. We'll be discussing all the fallout from that game next week on this show. But there is another game at stake on the weekend, this time to Blackburn. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Ryan Hildred from the Blackburn podcast. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us again. Firstly, I just want to announce that I've told the guys about your predictions that they don't really tend to come true. So if you're predicting a Blackburn win, it should be a good omen for the QPR boys. We spoke last week and we mentioned that... get through the Luton game for Blackburn, take on QPR, see where we are. We're on a good bit of run, 2 games. We're feeling very confident, and then up step Luton. They win the game 2-1. What did you make of that, and what do you make of QPR, who you face on the weekend?
Yeah, so prediction out the window. I did say to you, though, Luton will come to Ewood Park and not respect us and possibly get an early goal. So I was right with that element of the prediction. But, it just put a stopper to the obviously the recent good form and just kind of took us back a little step to think, OK, we're just about the nearly men here. Can we make playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. So still just hanging in there in mid-table, aren't we? And just got the draw against Forest tonight. Sounds like we've really tried at the end to get the winner, but sadly we only had the lead for 2 minutes. So we need to be going to QPR and looking for the win, obviously before that international break, just to kind of flirt with the playoffs. Or if it's not a win on Saturday, then very much mid-table mediocrity.
QPR aside that aren't a stranger to strange signings. Lewis Holtby, what's that one about?
I know, totally out the blue as far as Rovers fans concerned as well. Just not rumoured at all in the slightest. And then it popped up on Twitter probably about 12 hours before he did sign, and he was teasing us all with his Instagram page. But I think it's a really good signing. Our squad's been screaming out for experience, and we did sign Bradley Johnson, Stuart Down in the summer in particular to give us some of that experience. And Holtby's another one. Just he's probably not achieved what he should have done in his career, but certainly to bring on some of our younger players, I think he's perfect. And you know what? If we do end up selling Dak in January or in the summer, I think Holtby's just someone on a short-term basis who might just fill that number 10 role for us. But he's been good so far. He started really well against Reading, came off the bench and made an impact, and he's done the same against Luton and the same tonight from what I understand. So good signing for us, but very much out of the blue.
And Bradley, that was probably the scourge of QPR last season. The home or your away game at Loftus Road, he was the standout player and pretty much won the game on his own, I felt. Just how good is he? Is he Premier League class, or is he just kind of outdoing himself a little bit at Blackburn?
I think he's definitely Premier League class. I think certainly the last 6 months or so, I've really seen his physical game come on. Just his ability to take the ball in those tight areas with his back to goal, whether it's in centre mid, whether it's on the edge of the box. Really powerful with his running. He seems to have developed that side of his game well. The only thing with going to a Premier League side, I don't think any other side would play to his strengths like we do. It all orientates around Dak, and the whole formation and how we play is to get the best out of him. Whether that would happen at another Premier League side, whether he's going to be the main man in that way, and therefore whether he'd be able to have that same impact, that's just a slight doubt I've got. But ability-wise, absolutely is Premier League class, definitely.
And Ryan, which of the kids, you've mentioned some of the more experienced players, and Downing and Johnson and Dak, and which of the kids have been particularly impressive for you, and who should we be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I said it before, Lewis Travis in centre midfield just gets better and better game by game. He emerged last season, broke in, and he's picked up where he left off last season. This season, scored against Luton on Saturday with a cracking goal. He's played tonight in that anchor position alongside Stuart Downing, and from what I've heard, he's had an excellent game again. He's just a good all-round midfielder, and the bit that he's missing from his game is what he rectified on Saturday, getting the goal. So we can get a few more goals out of him and he becomes truly that box-to-box midfielder. Lewis Travis is definitely a good kid. The one who we all want to see a bit more of as Rovers fans is Ryan Nyambe, our right back. He's just not had a sniff this season. Elliot Bennett's been the right back, but Ryan Nyambe, he's only 20, 21. He looks really good, really solid. Played for Namibia in the African Cup of Nations and did really well as well. So he's another one who I would expect to, by the end of the season, I'm thinking he'll be first choice right back by the end of the season.
And we've been talking managers tonight on the show. We've got one now that we're actually happy with in Mark Warburton. Tony Mowbray's done a pretty good job there. Has he become a fan's favourite?
Yeah, he has. He's. I've said it to Charlie before on other shows that Mowbray he brings stability, has brought stability to Rovers. He's really engaged off the pitch, sorted out a lot of the stuff in the kind of middle to top tiers of the club, getting a CEO in and things like that. He's really addressed all of those things. Brings that stability. Just now, I just want him to not respect sides as much as he does. You know, I think he plays to stop opposition playing against us rather than playing to our strengths. You know, we've got some quality with the likes of Armstrong's pace and Dak, who we've spoken about, Joe Rothwell, a bit of an unearthed talent. You know, I just want us to be a bit more disrespectful to sides and actually play to our strengths. That's the thing I want him to bring on a bit more. But absolutely, we're happy for Mowbray. You know, brought us back up from League One, stopped the rot, stabilised us back in the Championship, and truly we can start looking forward rather than backwards now.
You did say Joe Rothwell, not Jack Rodwell, right?
I did say Joe Rothwell. We had Jack Rodwell last season. We've got Joe Rothwell. It was very confusing last season. Joe Rothwell and Jack Rodwell were on the books, just Joe Rothwell now. So number 8.
We've cleared that up, Ryan. Ryan, obviously, you know what I'm going to ask because Blackburn's form is a little bit indifferent at the minute. You know, consistency, it's not been there at all for the Rovers. I have to put you on the spot. I know you've just played tonight. It was 1-1. QPR play tomorrow, but you can look at the game now on the weekend. What is your score prediction? And obviously, please make the QPR fans happy because we know you aren't on the greatest run at the minute.
Yeah, predict the Blackburn win.
No, I'm not going for a Blackburn win.
Oh.
Our Achilles heel is definitely going to the stronger sides away from
thanks.
home.
Where's ours?
Yeah. To be fair, Ryan,
you're not going to Fulham.
No, if we're away, maybe. Yeah.
I thought the Achilles heel was you predicting Blackburn to win.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely the Achilles heel. But if we actually use my head rather than my heart, we do tend to struggle at the sides that are on good home form. QPR are one of those. Warburton's a good manager as well. I rate him most certainly. I think I'm thinking a draw. I think I've heard enough about tonight's game that we've responded to that Luton defeat and, you know, should carry on that good form going to Loftus Road. But I think QPR are going to be strong at home. You've had some good results at home as well. West Brom are a decent side. Yeah, you lost on Saturday, but they're a good side. But I think both sides will be looking to avoid that defeat before the international break. I'm going to say
sounds like 3-0 Blackburn. No, it sounds like 3-0 Blackburn to me.
You might have played at Loftus Road before, but you've never played at the Crown Prince Foundation Stadium, which is where you're going on Saturday.
Yes, my deepest apologies. That was very disrespectful of me, and it's a long name.
It really is.
Don't be silly, Ryan. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. I really enjoy getting you on. Ryan Hildred there from Rovers Chat. Well, he was scared to make that prediction. I maybe talked it up a little bit too much. I have to get your prediction and your thoughts of the head of the game. And what way do you think the game will play out? Because Blackburn, they did get a draw tonight, 1-1 with Forest, Gareth. So what do you make with the game on the weekend?
I think, well, it all depends what happens tomorrow night at Cardiff in terms of the result there and how we set out. I think it's a home game that we should be looking to win on the back of West Bromwich, and a couple of the performances at home we need to, aside from that 30-40 minutes at Luton, we need to perform and get a result. I'm probably going to go for 7-2 to QPR. There was another 7-2 tonight, so that's where I've got me.
Yeah, I think there was. Just very quickly, Tottenham were in Champions League action tonight and gutted, keeping an eye on all the London clubs and the British teams how they're getting on. Tottenham playing Bayern Munich, who aren't that great anymore on the German side, but the German side have managed to pick up that result 7-2. A former Arsenal man, Serge Gnabry, getting 4 of the goals. So.
Touch of sarcasm there.
Said that with a straight face for a minute as well.
Did you like that game?
Yeah, I did like that.
That was the
straight face.
impartial.
Have you done any acting?
Yeah, it's impartial right to the bitter end. Mate, it's 2 hours of Spurs every Thursday on Love Sport. It's trained me deep. Gav, what is your prediction for the game on the weekend?
I think we finally have to have a clean sheet. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Rangers.
2-0 to Rangers. Is the performance, obviously it's always the result, but how much do you want the performance to be there as well? Because you'd take a sloppy 1-0 win, we all would. But
we all would.
Yeah, but you want
the
performance as well after the weekend?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I take the points ahead of that for sure.
Points and prizes.
But I mean, as I said, we've outperformed so far this season. A lot of games I wasn't expecting us to get anything from. So yeah, at this point, I'd definitely take a
4 points out of
1-0.
4 points out of the next 2 games. You're laughing.
Yeah.
The big man has spoken. 4 points from 6 will be very happy for QPR fans. This has been the QPR Fan Show with a range of things podcast. Gareth Dixon and Gav Lawson. They will be back next week to discuss the fallout from the 2 games and preview everything in store for the Ars in the Championship. This is the QPR Fan Show. Next up, it's Leicester.
This is Love Sport.